I love the competition. I love to win, and I also love to learn. And that competitive nature, that never goes away. I'd like to have the same career as these guys, only bigger and different, and I mean it respectfully. And they all looked at me like I had 3 heads. You can't do it, you're not good enough, don't even try, pack your stuff and go home.
How much leverage, power, credibility do you have where they know they can't screw with you because you're gonna do it no matter what?
Not at this moment, but they felt the passion and they felt a little bit of momentum. I'm me, and the most important thing I could be is authentic, be myself, and Hollywood then conformed.
Hollywood conformed
to you, to me, when I became authentic and when I became myself. And then I went, I got it.
How hard do you actually work? Meaning what the audience doesn't see. How hard do you actually work, DJ?
Hard. You have to work hard. Everybody in this room knows if it's worth something to you, you got to put in the effort. And you know, the tricky thing, as we know with social media, is you let people in a little bit, you let them in on what you want them to see, but at the end of the day, I always feel like social media may be the tip of the iceberg that you allow people to see, but it's everything underneath the water that they don't see. And I always like to say it's the work we put in when nobody's watching that really matters. Got to put in the work. How hard do I work? I work hard. The person I compete with most is just me. It's you versus you. When I wake up in the morning, I have got to be running towards the thing that I want to do and not walking towards it, not, oh, I really don't feel like doing this, or God, why did I agree to do this, or why did I get into this business with somebody at such, I got to be running to it. We're lucky boys to be able to get to do what we do, but man, the work ethic, the drive, that hunger to compete, it never goes away. I've gotten really lucky and fortunate over the years to have accomplished what I've been able to accomplish, but again, the hunger doesn't go away. I like to say I got a full plate, but I could always make room for the stuff I love. And I've reached that point in my life, reached this point in my career where I started to realize, oh, you know, I've done pretty good, and we're sitting up top on this mountain. A few things can happen from here. I've reached this point in my life. We could either stay here and enjoy the view and bask in it, or we could go back down the mountain, right off into the sunset. And I thought, well, the first two don't seem like it's in my DNA. I know what we should do. Let's go build more mountain. So I think for me, the drive just comes from wanting to do more. I can trace back my my work ethic to, we were evicted out of we had a little efficiency apartment in Hawaii, and we were evicted out of there, couldn't pay the rent. The rent was $280 a month. We eventually got kicked out. When we got kicked out, I was 15 years old. I'll never forget it. I was standing there at the door. There was not the padlock, but the notice. And if any of you have had this unfortunate experience, you get evicted, they tell you in a week you gotta go. If you don't, then the Honolulu Police Department will come and they'll escort you out. In that moment, I saw my mom crying, and I'm a mama's boy, and that kind of pain really impacted me. And I thought then, I wanna do everything that I can to make sure we never get evicted like this again, and make sure that she's never this upset again. Thank you. You know, and that then I thought, I didn't even know what that meant at 15 years old. It just meant I have to work. I have to work. I have to do something with my own 2 hands. So I have a philosophy these days that you got to put in the work with our own 2 hands, because this is the stuff that you can control. We control the controllables, as we say. The other part is a competitive nature that is in my DNA, and it's in my blood, just like it runs in all of our constitution and our makeup here, where I love the competition, I love to win, and I also love to learn. I don't say lose, I say I love to learn. So I would say it's a combination of that. For me, the work ethic comes from, I never want to be evicted again, which is probably why I need therapy. And the other side to that is a competitive nature. And that competitive nature, that never goes away. If I'm able to do that, get up in the morning and run to it, then in that place of joy and happiness. Doesn't mean that the work goes away, the work ethic goes away, you work even harder. For a long time, what I used to do is think audience first. That was important, and it served me very well. I started to realize, though, but I'm not running towards this particular thing. So what I realized is now it has to be the thing that I do, has to be the thing that I love to do, and therefore, almost like Hollywood conformed years ago, I found that if it's the thing I'm running to and I love to do, then everybody comes with me.
What do you think that comes from? Like, is it duplicatable, or is it you either have it in your DNA or you don't?
I think there's versions of it that are duplicatable, and but we all go through our own journey and process. So there's something I think that we all can tap into that becomes our juice and our wiring. For me, you bring up my old man. My dad was a professional wrestler at a time when professional wrestling, I think, wasn't as globally renowned as it is today. When I decided to get into professional wrestling, we had the biggest fight about it. And ultimately he said, look, I'm not too sure if you have anything to offer. I mean, it got to that level. I understand what he meant in his limited capacity to love. He meant, look, I live in this little apartment in Tampa. I don't want this life for you. I think there's more for you out there. And I said, yeah, but I got to follow my gut and my instinct. So I bring that up to say, along the road of life, we always have these moments that are seminal moments where somebody, sometimes it's a loved one like my old man, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's a boss, sometimes it's a stranger who says, you can't do it, you're not good enough, don't even try, pack your stuff and go home. What I realized at that time was there was a lot of naysayers and there was a lot of cynicism as I was getting into Hollywood, and I get it, because you were successful in another place and now Hollywood comes knocking and now you want to try and come in and make a name for yourself in Hollywood. They said, if you really want to make it in Hollywood, then you can't call yourself The Rock, you got to lose weight, don't talk about wrestling, you have to look and walk and talk and act like these guys, and these guys are the biggest stars in the world at that time. Johnny Depp, Will Smith, etc. If you don't know any better, you buy into that stuff, like I bought into that back then. But then you start to realize something starts to eat at your gut about, well, this just doesn't feel right because I'm not being authentic, I'm not being myself. So finally, I said, a few years later, I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to be myself. Had a big meeting at the agency. I said, I'd like to have the same career as these guys, only bigger and different, and I mean it respectfully. They all looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I have a big enough head as it is. So they looked at me like I had 3 heads, and I said, listen, The Rock is a pretty cool name, and I love wrestling, and I'm also proud of where I came from this world of pro wrestling, where it's my dad and my grandfather, and I have a lot of family in pro wrestling. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means we got to figure out a different path.